Hello everyone and welcome on today's video. My name is Wouter Peer and I'm the founder and main developer of GHEtool Cloud. And I'm really happy today because I can share with you finally our latest report functionality. Now, if you have been following us for a while, you know that automated reporting is one of the key benefits of using GHEtool because you save hours in writing professional reporting every month. And over the last 6 months, we received quite a lot of feedback from your community on how we can make these reports even better. What sections you would like us to add, how we can make things more clear, more precise. And today we're finally launching this new enhanced reporting functionality to all our existing users. So in this video, I just briefly want to tell you how you can use our new reporting functionality, and I am looking forward to hearing again your feedback, so in the next update we can make this reporting even more useful for you. So I created a new project. It's just an empty project, and what we will go to do is we will fill in the project as you normally do, and then we go over the reporting functions. So let's go ahead and we're going to calculate a temperature profile. Let's stick to the default ground parameters. For the bore field, we're going to work with 8 boreholes of 100 meters deep. For the borehole resistance, let's work with, for example, 25% monopropylene glycol, 0.3 liters per second, with a standard W tube. Let's keep the thermal demand the same, but add, for example, a little bit of domestic hot water as well. And let's go ahead and simulate this. The parameters really do not matter, it's just to give you a sense of how you can do this, this reporting in GHEtool. So this is our first scenario. As you can see, it's rather oversized, the bore fields. Our total boreholes of 8 is way too big. So here in the report settings, I'm gonna say as a description of this scenario, this bore field is oversized. For example, let's go ahead and save this. I'm come back to this this option above later. So now let's go ahead and duplicate this. For example, let's rename it. Let's go to our bore field and let's remove 4 boreholes. So yes, we want to convert it to coordinates. And here we can just delete something like that perhaps. Yeah, let's see what that gives us. Simulate it again. And as you can see, now we're way closer to the limits. So for the purpose of this exercise, let's say, well, this is sized accurately. Now, lastly, I also want to do some pressure drop calculations for this last scenario, where I see all the boreholes are connected in pairs of 1 in series and Tichelman, meaning that every borehole is connected directly to the manifold and the furthest distance is 20 meters. Now, if you have not watched our video on pressure drop calculations, it's linked in the description below. It's just to show you that this will also be included in the report. So we have here our hydraulic design. Okay, perfect. So now we've done our simulations and we want to generate a report out of this. And then we have these settings on a scenario level versus a project level. So for every scenario, you can select whether or not you want this scenario in the report. So for example, if you do quite a lot of simulations and some of them are temporary, you do not want to export them, you can simply say, no, I do not want this in the report. If you want, you select yes. And then you have here quite a long list of report options. Now, these are specific sections in the full report, and I will discuss that later. So for example, you can say, okay, I want this graph with the pressure drop also in the report. You can select it. You can say, okay, I want my monthly load profile as a table in the report. I want, what is there? I want to have some information related to the bury depth versus the borehole length. So we have some hints in there. Some information related to temperature profiles, borehole cross-section, you can all enter, it's linked in the description, the link to the full article where we explain everything in more detail. You can also see that there are some things disabled, and that is because GHEtool has quite a lot of features. For example, everything related to the hybrid system is now disabled because we didn't make a hybrid simulation. So if you do a hybrid simulation, some options will become available, others will not, etc. So this you can select for every scenario. And then over in the project dashboard, we have here, as before, our reporting settings. So what you can say is we have a report name, a report date, and as a language at the moment, 3 languages, but now that this new report functionality is finally done, it's finished, this project, we will also add new languages in the near future. You can write optionally an introduction and a conclusion to the report. And then you have here the type of report you have to select. So we made a distinction between 2 types of reports, and let me just go ahead and write something here so you see it. The difference between a summary and a full report is, in a summary report, we basically want you to have a one-pager with the main information, the main conclusions for every scenario. So it's really brief, it's for easy communication. Whereas the full report, it has sections on general input data, it has hydraulic data in it as well, so it's way more elaborate. So just to show you how the summary report works, let's go ahead and generate this. Now, in the summary report, so if we go back to the scenarios, you see that there are not quite a lot of options. Basically, everything is disabled because it's a really brief report. The only thing you can change is whether or not you want the design parameters in the report. So I will just download the report and show you how it looks like. So this is the layout, the default layout of the report. This is the table of contents. So we have our introduction below, and then we have our different one pages. So this looks very familiar to our previous report. We did some layout tweaking and we added some more important information. So for example, here it's a double U-tube with 25 volume% of monopropylene glycol. That's something we added, but also if you use a turbo collector or a separatus probe, it will be in there. Below we have our thermal demands. Now, if you recall previously, this was always in extraction and injection demand. Now we changed this to be really the building demand. So the values you enter in GHEtool related to the yearly load, the peak power, it's all the same values. And then we have some results here. Just very briefly, the temperature profile and some numerical values. And this you have for both scenarios, so with our other bore field as well, the other temperature profile. We have a conclusion, and then what we selected per scenario, the design data, it's just a long list of all the different design parameters, the coordinates, etc. that were selected for this scenario. And this, for example, if you really want a brief report, you can leave this out as well. So that was the small report, let's say. Now let's go ahead and make a full report. Because as you've seen in the summary report, we didn't talk about ground parameters. We didn't talk about flow rates. Our pressure drop is not mentioned there as well. So that's all included in the full report. So for the full report, you have per scenario way more options to select. Let's go ahead and see how this looks like. So the first page is the same, but here in the table of content, you can see that the report is way longer. We have here 19 pages, whereas here it was, 10 pages. So it's twice as long. And the structure is also a little bit different. So the way this full report is structured is you have again an introduction. Then you have an optional section with the summary of the simulation, which is basically the first report. And you can select in GHEtool per scenario whether or not you want to include the summary as well. Then we have always a section related to the input data. And this is called the shared input data. Because typically when you're doing multiple scenarios in GHEtool, most of the parameters stay the same. So all the parameters that are the same for all the scenarios, they are mentioned here in chapter 3 in this case, related to general, ground, pipe, fluid, hydraulic, load and efficiency data. Then we have our results for both scenarios, conclusion and appendices. So if we scroll down, we again have our introduction, a brief automated section related to the structure of the report. We have again our summaries. This is basically the same as with the previous report. So we have our input, we have thermal demand, we have our results for both scenarios. And then we end up with a totally new section, namely the shared input data. So here we have all the information that is shared between the scenarios. For example, all scenarios had a simulation period of 20 years, starting in January, with some fluid temperatures. There's some information related to the ground data. There is some information related to the pipe data. So for example, we used a borehole of 140 millimeters, a W tube, etc. We have here this cross-section figure now, which again you can disable for each scenario in GHEtool if you want. We have our fluid data, so some more information about 25% that was selected, the frost protection, the flow rate, the hydraulic data, so where we said we had a lateral connection from the borehole to the manifold of 20 meters. We have the load information here, but we also have it in a monthly table format, which again is optional. You can leave it out if you want. The monthly load profile. In this case, you also have it with hourly profiles, etc. It's automatically generated for you. And then we have our efficiency data here below. So this is basically all the information that is shared, all the inputs that's the same for every scenario. Now we are at the results section. So we have a bore field 1 with our description as before. And every scenario, it starts with input data, which is specific to the scenario, and then the results. So if you recall, what we did in the example is we started with a design of 8 boreholes, and then later on we changed it to 5 boreholes. So the bore field is not the same across all scenarios, and therefore it's mentioned on the specific page of this scenario itself. So some information related to the bore fields, an optional graph here. And this is what I meant with the fact that we have some hints included. So for example, the difference between the borehole depth and the borehole length is not always that clear for people, because some other tools don't make that distinction because they ignore the buried depth. So that's why you have the option to embed it as well as a hint. We have the coordinates, and then we have the results. So first of all, you have the option to show the ground load. So basically, if you have a building demand, your building demand is not the same as the ground demand because there is a heat pump in between. So this is what really comes from the ground, the extraction and injection load. And then we have the temperature evolution of the bore field with again some explanation on what's on this graph. And we have, in this case, also some information related to the pressure drop. So it's a single borehole in this case. Now for our second scenario, we'll go a little bit quicker. The information is the same. Here we have 5 boreholes. We have our coordinates. We have our ground load. We have our temperature evolution. And here, since we selected, we want to show the pressure drop in this case. We have here the pressure drop from the borehole, the lateral pipe, and then a pressure drop curve as well. We have our conclusion and then again our appendices. So that's basically how the reporting functionality works. I will just show you one thing. So I will say, for example, I do not want my coordinates in this first scenario, and since it is also not my optimal scenario, I'm also not gonna include a summary for this. I'm going to save this. I'm going to go to my dashboard again, and let's now make an advanced report. So this is the other template as in the scheme, the colors, etc. So here you can add, for example, subtitle. My name is Wouter Pere. My client information is clients somewhere in the world, for example. Let's add an email address, and then let's go ahead and create it as well. So what we now will do is we will generate the same full report, but with a different template. And we will also see that we do not have a summary of scenario 1 in the report. So let's open that one. So this is the template with your own logo, etc. You can all set that. Client information we entered. Table of content is again the same, but as you can see, we only have now a summary of the simulation for the second scenario, because we said only the second scenario should have a summary. Let's go over it a little bit quicker, because it's all the same, as you can see. So for the results here, I said I do not want to have the graph of the bore field coordinates. So we now only have the table in this case. We have our ground loads and a temperature profile. And in the second scenario, we do have this table with the bore field coordinates, as well as the table. We have the graph and the table. So that is how the new reporting functionality in GHEtool works. We spent quite a lot of time making the backend as flexible as possible, so that whenever you have new ideas for new graphs or something that would be useful, we can add it rather easily and on a short time frame to the report. So if you have any feedback, please share it with us. This report only came to be due to our fantastic community who gave wonderful feedback. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what reports you make with GHEtool and how we can keep improving. And I hope you share this with your colleagues, friends, families, everyone who wants to hear this. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye.